and welcome. Tonight, voters troop out in their numbers to choose the All Progressive Congress flag bearer in the party primary election in Osun State ahead of the July the 18th governorship poll. The president returns to Abuja after attending the 6th session of the European Union-African Union Summit in Brussels, Belgium. Two precious Benin artifacts, a cockerel and an Oba bronze head, returned from the UK, are finally received at the Oba's Palace in the Edo State capital. And fighting escalates between Ukrainian government forces and rebels as the Russian-backed breakaway Eastern Territories order military mobilizations.
And on business news tonight, Nigerian Export Promotion Council commences a campaign to promote the non-oil sector as a viable export alternative.
On sports news tonight, Harry Kane scored a late goal as Tottenham stunned Premier League champions 3-2 at the Etihad, throwing the title race open.
It's now a waiting game for the announcement of the winner in today's All Progressive Congress APC governorship primary in Osun State. Members of the party trooped out in their numbers to exercise their franchise in an election which was conducted in 332 wards through the option A4 direct primary approved by the party. The incumbent governor, Gboyega Oyetola, former secretary to the state government, Moshood Adeoti, and former deputy speaker, House of Representatives, Honorable Lasun Yusuf, are contending for the party's ticket.
Members of the All Progressives Congress in Osun State troop out in the 332 wards across the state for accreditation in preparation for voting in the party's governorship primary. But it appears not all are satisfied with the arrangement on the ground.
Yesterday we complained about the unavailability of the register that we were supposed to use for the election today. And the same thing we complained yesterday actually played itself out today. We didn't have any access to the voters register. Most wards, they didn't even bring the voters register for people to be able to do proper accreditation. Secondly, there was no proper accreditation in most of these wards. People were just imported from everywhere to come and vote, even non-party members. So no proper accreditation in line with the guideline issued by the party.
After a heated build-up to the exercise, there is heavy security presence to forestall any breakdown of law and order. With the D-Day for the Osun governorship election fixed for July the 18th, 2022 approaching, the APC is leaving nothing to chance in picking its flag bearer for the exercise. The incumbent governor, Mr. Gboyega Oyetola, who is seeking a second term, and the former secretary to the government of Osun State under Rauf Aregbesola, Mr. Moshood Adeoti, as well as a former deputy speaker of the House of Representatives, Lasun Yusuf, are those in contention for the ticket of the party. After casting his ballot at Iragbiji in Borikwe local government area of Osun State, Governor Oyetola expresses satisfaction with the process.
The process has been particularly very peaceful, contrary to the speculation that there could be violence. I don't see the basis for any violence anyway. Members of the party came out in large numbers to cast their vote for the candidate of their choice. So it's a level playing field for everybody. I mean, everybody was expected to have his agent. Supporters are supposed to come out and vote, so without any intimidation from anywhere. Very peaceful.
One of the aspirants, Mr. Moshood Adeoti, cast his ballot at Iwo, his hometown. He describes the turnout as impressive and says he is confident of clinching the ticket.
My chances are very bright. My chances is very bright. Take that one from me. Barney, any shenanigan, and if you are going to have free, fair, credible primaries, I know I will win.
The third aspirant, a former Deputy Speaker of the House of Representatives, Lasun Yusuf, voted at Ilobu in Irekpodun local government area of Osun State. With the exercise concluded, the aspirants and their supporters are hopeful that when the results are announced, the pendulum of victory will swing their way.
We'll bring you more updates on the Osun APC governorship primary as the bulletin unfolds. But over in the nation's capital, the People's Redemption Party, PRP, has elected a new national working committee with Mr. Abdul Majid Daudu as the new national chairman of the party after dissolving the interim caretaker committee. Mr. Daudu, who emerged through consensus, called on all party members across the country to be united and mobilize the support of the electorate and pressure groups as the party aims to challenge the existing political structure in 2023.
We have passed through a lot, but by the grace of God, we were able to cross all the hurdles. We had so many challenges. We inherited a lot of challenges. In the party, we have some of our members who are not here with us. We have extended hands of friendship, unity, and togetherness to them, and we are calling on them to come back so that we can have a united and one force to fight in this country in order to bring about a victory of PRP in all the levels of governance in Nigeria by the grace of God. We are also extending the hands of friendship to groups in Nigeria, progressive groups and unions, such as the Nigerian Labour Movement, the Nigerian Student Union, our political allies, who are also progressive groups. We are making efforts to extend hands of friendship and alliances with such groups. And that is how we can bring about a meaningful and a solid front to challenge the existing system.
The President has returned to Abuja after attending the 6th European Union-African Union Summit in Brussels, Belgium. He was received on arrival at the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport, Abuja, by top government officials and security chiefs. In his presentation at the Brussels Summit, President Muhammadu Buhari frowned on the recent forceful takeover of governments, especially in West Africa, and called for heavy sanctions against illegal change in leadership in Africa. He also challenged European leaders to translate their promises of cooperation with Africa to concrete actions, especially in dealing with insecurity in the Sahel and other regions. President Buhari was in Brussels with the President of Algeria and South Africa, as well as the Prime Minister of Ethiopia, under the auspices of the G4, where they resolved to strengthen the platform for the resolution of various issues confronting the continent. The G4 platform is an initiative of the Ethiopian Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed, set up to discuss and prefer solutions as well as aggregate positions to ensure that the African Union carries its work forward successfully, efficiently, and quickly as well. In spite of the current efforts by the authorities to end illegal oil refining activities in Rivers State, residents are still at risk of suffering from respiratory and cancerous diseases in the years ahead due to the long-time emission of soot. This is according to public health and environmental experts who have been following studies on the effect of the environmental pollution in the state. They warn that those with the history of smoking and respiratory illnesses, such as asthma, are the most vulnerable.
The media have in recent times been awash with stories of Rivers State government officials and security agents waging a war against crude oil theft and the operation of illegal refineries in the state. As soothing as their efforts may be, there's still an apprehension about the health of the residents. The result of this emission is seen visibly as black dust and surfaces at homes, as in the case of this woman who lives near a waterfront in the Abaloma area of Port Harcourt, the River State capital. Another way to notice the heavy pollution, which is largely concentrated at midnight when the activities of the illegal refiners are believed to be high, is by cleansing one's nostrils with a white material or washing one's feet on the running water. The black powdery substance is what health and environmental experts refer to as soot, and analyzed to consist largely of amorphous carbon produced by the incomplete burning of organic matter, in this case crude oil.
You know, you wake up in the morning and you have soot on the car, you want to wash the car and you see black, so much black things and all that. Your white clothes, you can see the soot dropping, so it was very high.
Every day I mop, and the bed spread, if I spray white bed spread, it too will turn to black sometimes.
While the operators may have been smiling to the banks, their activities are said to be as dangerous as passing a death sentence on millions of River State residents.
If the soot is irritable, for example, it was said to contain benzene and other chemicals, it means that even with that sequestration, there will still be irritation. And it's that chronic irritation that can lead to something like cancer.
Beyond inhaling polluted air, the contamination of the ecosystem and aquatic lives is said to pose another long-term danger to human health.
The oil will percolate into this through the soil and contaminate groundwater. The oil will also kill all sorts of organisms because it's a community of plants and animals. People do think that when we say mangrove, we are just talking about the plant standing. It's a community of plants and animals. And most of those animals are even the seafood we eat.
While the citizens attest that the rate of pollution may have dropped due to the current fight by the government, Governor Nyesom Wike is urging more force from local council chairmen and security agents to save lives.
You never can tell who it is. I mean, nobody knows all the kind of ailments we get. You never can know the source of it. But this one, experts have said, this can lead to cancer and the rest of it. So let's take this war as a war that we must save our people.
To further track the effect of this pollution, the health expert is urging residents to go for regular medical checks and seek prompt attention of medics when they feel unwell.
In part two, after the break, former President Olusegun Obasanjo says the country needs people he describes as rebels to speak truth to power as part of the nation's rebuilding process. That's in a moment. Join us again. If you just joined us, you're watching the news at 10 live on Channels Television Lagos. A reminder of our top stories. Voters troop out in their numbers to choose the All Progressive Congress flag bearer in the party's primary election ahead of the July the 18th governorship poll. The president returns to Abuja after attending the 6th session of the European Union-African Union Summit in Brussels, Belgium. Two cherished Benin artifacts, a cockerel and an Oba bronze head returned from the UK, are finally received at the Oba's Palace in the Edo State capital. And fighting escalates between Ukrainian government forces and rebels as the Russian-backed breakaway Eastern territories order military mobilizations. It's a waiting game for members of the APC in Osun State as they wait to find out who will fly the party's flag during the July 18th governorship polls. To bring us an update on what's happening in Osun State, let's go live Our correspondent, Babajide Agbeyo, gives us an update. Babajide, can you tell us what's happening at the moment?
Well, thank you very much. This is the Secretariat of the All Progressives Congress in Osun State, and we are all keeping vigil here, expecting the team led by the governor of Kwara State to come and declare the result of the primary held earlier today. At this side of the hall, you will see party representatives sitting there waiting for the exercise to kick off. And at the other end there, journalists are also well seated, keenly waiting for the chairman of the committee for this primary election to come in and for the program, the exercise to commence in earnest. And within the premises here, I've seen returning officers. I cited some fine-tuning their presentations ahead of the arrival of the governor who we are expecting. And I've also seen a team coming in now and showing signals that very soon the program will commence in earnest. But let me add this, that earlier today, this evening, a faction of the All Progressives Congress issued a press statement, and they also granted Channels Television an interview complaining that they don't believe the result that will come out of this will be acceptable. They cited intimidation of those who would have voted for their preferred aspirant, either intimidation by body language or by verbal action and by action. Thank you very much.
Our correspondent Babajide giving us all the updates there. Stay with Channels Television for more updates on the Osun APC primary. Now to other stories. Former President Chief Olusegun Obasanjo says Nigeria needs more rebels who would speak truth to power, not minding whose husk is gone. According to him, whoever must live a life of honesty and integrity has to be a rebel. He spoke during a book launch in Abeokuta, the Ogun State capital.
Our country, Nigeria, needs more of rebels. Need more rebels. Those who will look at things straight in the face and say, this is not right. This is not on. This I will not be part of. This is not good for Nigeria.
In his speech also at the event, the serving overseer of the Citadel Global Community Church, Pastor Tunde Bakari, called for intergenerational integration as part of efforts to rebuild the country.
Dysfunctional homes produce dysfunctional nations, but strong families are the units of a strong nation. The transference of a worthy legacy from value-driven parents to their offspring will result in value-driven societies. Second, we must embrace the redemptive value of culture. We must revive those aspects of culture that foster community spirit and nation building, mindful of the African proverb that says, it takes a village to raise a child.
There appears to be a new twist to the story of 19-month-old Obinna Udeze, whose death was attributed to an alleged flogging by his teacher at the Arise and Shine Nursery and Primary School, Asaba. The doctors who managed Obinna's case say that he was being treated for excessive stooling and vomiting before he eventually died. But his mother maintains that her son was not stooling or vomiting before his death. Meanwhile, the police have called for calm and patience pending the outcome of the autopsy being carried out.
About a week ago, news of the death of 19-month-old Obinna Udeze filled the media space, a pathetic story that attracted the attention of the Delta State government and caused outrage across the country. The story had it that Obinna took ill after he was allegedly beaten by his teacher and was taken first to the Life Value Hospital, and after his condition became worse, he was transferred to the Children's Emergency Ward at the Federal Medical Center, Asaba. Unfortunately, he died. Doctors who managed this case at both health facilities give their own accounts of what happened.
He was admitted on account of severe stooling, vomiting, and fever of 3 days duration. And there was this alleged information that the child was flogged in school before presentation. But on physical examination, there was no obvious bruises on the body. You may notice some hidden marks on the child's body.
And that baby was brought at about 10 a.m. And after taking the history, was examined and found to be comatose. And that baby barely spent about 15 minutes here before he passed on. And from all the examination and the findings and all that, it could be, the diagnosis at the time was that it was a case of gastroenteritis.
A visit to some of the hospitals in Asaba corroborate the stories of a rise in cases of stooling and vomiting in children, especially during the dry season. At the residence of the victim, his mother is still devastated over the loss of her son, but this is her reaction to the news that her son may have died as a result of stooling and vomiting.
No! Obinna was in life value from Thursday till Saturday morning. He was wearing the same pampers he was wearing even in the FMCT. They gave up the coast. There was nothing. Even the pampers, while being removed from the mortuary, is still with me because they gave us the clothes, the pampers, the top he was wearing. So if a child is stooling, it should be visible inside the pampers.
In the meantime, the State Police Command is calling for patience pending the outcome of the autopsy being performed.
Investigation is still ongoing. You don't just rush to take a suspect to court. The essence of taking suspect to court is to gain conviction, not just to take them there and make a caricature of the police. No. So we need to do that thorough investigation that is expected of us so that we don't punish anybody innocently. So we are waiting for the autopsy. When it is out, we'll avail you with it.
It's expected that the medical report from the autopsy will put to rest the controversies surrounding the death of Obinna Udeze.
Nigeria has the largest population in Africa and 7th globally. That's according to numbers from the United Nations Population Fund. However, this growing number, which is estimated at over 206 million, is a source of concern for the government and development partners in the view of the scarce resources needed to cater for the people. In this next report, we look at the growing population in the country.
Barely 2 weeks ago, President Buhari launched the revised national population policy, which targets the need to tackle the national high fertility rate through expanding access to modern contraceptive methods. This vision corresponds with an earlier policy by the administration of former military President General Ibrahim Babangida, which came up with a policy of 1 woman, 4 children. However, the policy was never backed by law. The nation's fertility rate, which is still growing, is hinged on a youthful population of more than 72% of them below 30 years and half of the female population in their reproductive years.
The new national population policy emphasizes the urgency to address Nigeria's sustained high fertility rate through expanding access to modern family planning, counseling, and commodities, as well as promote birth spacing.
Some of the factors responsible for the nation's growing population include lack of knowledge about family planning, migration, biological factors, social and religious factors.
Rather than think we are too many, why don't we expand? Why don't we develop ourselves and utilize these human resources that we are trying to curtail? Why don't we use the human resources to grow technologically?
Currently, the nation's rising population is in contrast with the economic, health and education indices. According to the National Bureau of Statistics, the nation's gross domestic product stands at 3.9% in the fourth quarter of 2021. Despite this figure, over 40% of the nation's population still live in poverty. But the chairman of the National Population Commission, Mr. Issa Kwara, explains that education plays a key role in addressing the rising population, as the commission is initiating policies and programs to address it.
Where we have population growth outpacing the growth of the economy, then it becomes a problem for us. Investment, like I said, in education, ensure that the adolescents are made to go through the education system. At least they should graduate from secondary school, but if they go further, it's even better for the country.
While concerns of the population continue to dominate discussions, economists believe the growing population can work to the advantage of a nation if properly harnessed.
In Zamfara State, the Assistant Inspector General of Police in charge of Zone 10, AIG Sani Bello, is promising better security in the 3 states under his supervision. Zone 10 of the Nigeria Police comprises Kebbi, Sokoto and Zamfara State, but Sokoto and Zamfara have been the most hit, with many reported abductions and killings. Mr. Bello gave the assurance while addressing officers and men of the State Police Command.
That was between 1994.
In order to brainstorm on issues of security and at the same time talk to my men about the issue of civility to members of the public, at the same time about the importance of synergy between police and members of other security agencies in order to collaborate, synergize together in order to solve the problem of security that is bedeviling the 3 states. At the same time, in order to align with the Inspector General of Police, Alkali Baba Usman, PSC Daga, FDC, NPM. So in line with his vision to serve with the to protect with the courage and serve with the compassion. So that is why we are here to talk to our men, and we have talked to them, and they promise to be firm and decisive in dealing with the PT.
Still ahead on the news at 10. Nigerian Export Promotion Council begins a campaign to promote the non-oil sector as a viable export alternative. That's on Business News. Join us again. Welcome back. Cross River State appears to be setting the pace in promoting the much-desired policy of youth inclusion at all levels of government. For this reason, over 30,000 youths across 196 wards in Cross River State today gathered to show their appreciation to the Governor, Professor Ben Ayade, for giving them an opportunity to serve. During the event, the Governor also announced plans to launch the Cross River Social Security Program for young people in the state.
A large number of young people defy the hot temperature, watching from the stands at the UJ Useni Stadium in Calabar for the chance to celebrate Governor Ben Ayade on his policy of youth inclusiveness. This event, organized by the All Progressive Congress Youth Lobby Group, brings together over 30,000 of their peers across the 196 wards in the state.
The summit offers the youth of Cross River State an opportunity to declare their gratitude to President Muhammadu Buhari and the national leadership of the All Progressive Congress for his unwavering support and encouragement for greater youth involvement in politics and governance.
The president gave a directive. He said young people must be the future and the present of APC. Governor Ben Ayade, congratulations for already walking the talk. We respect you, we appreciate you.
Goodwill messages follow, commending the governor for giving them an opportunity to serve and a platform to showcase their abilities.
The youth of Cross River State are continuing a movement that has begun in Nigeria. A movement for the emancipation of young people. A movement for the empowerment of young people.
The man with the baton handing over to the teammates must hand over in tandem and at the same pace. Youth of Cross River State, you are running at the same pace and you are stretching your hand back to collect the baton.
For Governor Ayade, his administration's inclusion of youth in governance is rooted in his belief that the future of the state belongs to them, and there's more in the works.
The government of Cross River State will start a youth social welfare program. A social welfare program, a social security program. Ayade does not give because he has enough, but he gives because he cares enough. So I am going to create an expansion program that will bring again an avalanche of over 30,000 young people onto a social security scheme.
Earlier this month, President Muhammadu Buhari mandated the inclusion of young people with the proper skills and experience in all boards and committees of the federal government to serve as an encouragement for them to take up the mantle of leadership in the country.
In other stories, the palace of the Oba of Benin has received the 2 Benin artifacts after their return from the United Kingdom. One is a bronze cockerel known as Opa, which was returned from the Jesus College of Cambridge University, Britain, where it had been on display. The other is the Oba bronze head known as Ilaho, which was returned from the Aberdeen University in Scotland, where it had also been on display. The bronzes were accompanied by the Nigerian High Commissioner to the United Kingdom, Ambassador Sharafa Ishola. They were received by the palace delegates at the Benin airport, and the bronze cockerel had been at the Jesus College in Cambridge for about 120 years until the return was initiated 3 years ago. More updates on what's happening in Osun State. The Minister of Interior, Rauf Aregbesola, is faulting the conduct of the Osun governorship primary of the All Progressives Congress APC, describing it as a sham of an election. The former governor asked his supporters not to be downcast or resort to violence over the outcome of the exercise. The minister cited several alleged irregularities during the process, and he, however, praised his supporters for comporting themselves and not resorting to violence, vowing to explore legal action on the matter. The build-up to the Osun APC primary governorship election had been marred by disagreement, mainly between 2 factions, one loyal to the minister, that's Mr. Aregbesola, and the other pledging allegiance to Governor Boyega Oyetola. Now, sound infrastructure remains a key driver for rapid economic growth. In this regard, the federal government is stepping up its drive to improve infrastructure development, especially in the area of transport. However, there appears to still be challenges for businesses in the country. Our correspondent, Will Ibong, has the rest of the story.
This is the fate of some road users on the Benin-Sapele Road. Some of them transporters attempting to move food crop from the farms to consumers, and in some cases manufacturers moving both raw materials and finished goods.
Part of the journeys we make, we pass through Ekoma, we pass through Eho, we pass through Edo State. You go through Ekoma, you cannot predict the road. The impact of bad roads to our business constitute nothing less than takes away 30% of our profits.
In the last couple of years, the federal government has launched railway and roadworks and promises to do more.
We've done Kaduna Abuja, which is 186 kilometers. We've done Lagos Ibadan. which is 156 kilometers. We've done Itabe Wari, which is about 350 kilometers. Work is ongoing at Kano, Kaduna.
In the 2022 budget, with a size of 17.126 trillion naira, the federal government has allocated 1.42 trillion naira for infrastructure development, which includes provisions of over 285.63 billion naira for critical projects such as roads, rails, and bridges. Some of the selected projects in the 2022 budget include the construction of the Lagos-Kano, Kano-Maradi railway lines, the dualization of the Makurdi-Enugu road, upgrading and rehabilitation of Kefia-Kwanga-Lafia road, reconstruction of the outstanding sections of Beni-Ofosu-Ore-Ajimbadele-Shagamu expressway, construction of Bodo-Boni road, as well as the maintenance and rehabilitation of the third mainland bridge. However, as an economist points out, there seems to be a need for a more cohesive strategy for the execution of these projects.
We don't have that document that encapsulates all the challenges in one piece, and then to make sure that there could be some value drivers. Which ones are the low-hanging fruits that we need to do immediately? Which ones are supposed to be the medium term, and which ones are the long-term kind of infrastructure?
The government is exploring other methods such as tax exemption for companies and sukuk bonds to fund infrastructure.
The budget is only one option, and some of them, as you know, seek to attract private capital, and so like the tax credit scheme is a strategic partnership of advancing our taxes to us before they are due.
So far, the proceeds from the issuance of sukuk bonds have been used for the construction of the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway, the Vandikia Obudu-Katu Ranch Road, Azare Potiskum Road, Sokoto Tambuwal Katangura Road, as well as the rehabilitation of the Marina Amadu Bello Road in Lagos. While road projects executed under the tax credit scheme include the Owuru Apapa Oshodi Expressway, 21 federal roads have been approved for reconstruction. However, Mr. Shuaibu Idris believes more can be done.
We need to ensure that we tax, the system relatively fairly and reasonably. We are, collecting taxes so that we can fund this infrastructure.
With transport ranked as one of the fastest growing sectors of the economy according to data from the Nigerian Bureau of Statistics in the fourth quarter of 2021, businesses can only look forward to a more enabling environment to thrive, and infrastructure is key in this regard. Will Ibong, Channels Television News.
Some company news now. The wine, beverages and spirits distillers giant Nigeria Distillers Limited has unveiled its new corporate identity, which depicts its global penetration and acceptance. This is part of events marking 60 years of its anniversary in the Nigerian market at the Green Legacy Resort in Abeokuta, the Ogun State capital. The management of the foremost distiller in the country appreciated the Ogun State government, its numerous consumers, distributors, and dedicated members of staff for the journey so far in the last 60 years.
From humble beginnings in 1961, it's time for stock-taking and celebration by the Nigeria Distillers Limited as the company marks its 60th anniversary. Former President Olusegun Obasanjo, Speaker of the Ogun State House of Assembly, traditional rulers, distributors, development partners, among other critical stakeholders, are present to identify with the first distillery company in the country.
Since we commenced operations in Nigeria 60 years ago, Nigeria Distilleries Limited has grown, shown resilience in business. We remain committed to growing with Ogun State and its people, and with Nigeria and its youth, and its economy, and in our resolve to build brilliant African brands and global brands that will continue to make you proud of us.
This is one business industry that has survived. Yoroshiki started it. So, which means that this family business will continue for
While reviewing its operations in the last 60 years, especially in wines and spirits distilling in the country, the Group Executive Director assured of more promising years ahead, just as the Olota of Ota appreciates the company's contributions to its host community.
Our communities have gained a lot from their CSR, and I want to thank you. Being one of the largest employer of labor in Ota, you have actually reduced crime in our society.
We're promising all our customers, they are our key partners and they are close to us. What we've been able to achieve this last 60 years is down to them. We'll continue to partner with them, work with them closely, walk with them hand in hand, and help them grow their own businesses and serve the Nigerian consumers.
The event also witnessed the unveiling of the new corporate identity and logo, while former President Olusegun Obasanjo joined the management and other dignitaries to cut the anniversary cake.
Now let's find out what's happening in the world of business. Laddie Williams is standing by with the details.
Thanks, Melinda. In business news, the Nigerian Export Promotion Council has commenced a campaign tagged Walk for Export Survival as part of its efforts to grow the non-oil sector. Speaking with reporters after a walk on major streets of the Federal Capital Territory, the executive director of the NEPC, Ezra Yakusak, advised Nigerians who are into exports to tap into the government's intervention to access the international market, thereby creating jobs and boosting foreign exchange. Do take a listen.
The essence of this work is actually a cry-on call to Nigeria and to Nigerians to embark non-oil export as an alternative. You see what's happening in the country. Naira is sliding down, and so many problems in the country in terms of economic-wise. And the only way we feel is export. The only way to go is export, is non-oil export. And that's why we flag up this work. We call it Export for Survival. And the idea of export for survival is it's an emergency. There's an emergency out there in our economy that we need to fix our economy. And the only way, like I said, to get foreign exchange is for us to embark on non-oil export. And you know, you are aware that the NBS released some statistics on the fourth quarter performance, and they said non-oil export, there was an improvement of non-oil export by about almost 1.7%, while the oil sector went down to -8%. That's a great improvement, and that's what we want to hear. What that means is that Nigerians are listening to us, they are listening to what we are saying, they are appreciating what we are doing, and they are going out there embarking on non-oil export.
And trading activity at the FMDQ exchange took a negative posture this week as the total turnover of transactions carried out at the FX spot, forwards and futures markets fell by 18.29% to $481.44 million as at February the 18th. Further analysis of trading results shows that the total value of transactions at the FX spot markets dropped by 12.10% to $403.12 million, while the FX derivatives market turnover dipped by 40.02% to $78.32 million. On the other hand, the Naira firmed by 0.02% to 416 Naira 31 kobo against the dollar at the Nigerian Autonomous Foreign Exchange window of the Forex market, in contrast to 416 Naira 40 kobo recorded last week. And to some company news, listed integrated food business and agro-allied group, Flour Mills of Nigeria, has appointed the former CEO of Nigerian Investment Promotion Commission, Ms. Yewande Sadiku, to its board of directors. A statement released by the company on the Nigerian exchange mentions that her appointment takes effect from the 16th of February. Before her appointment at NIPC, she was the Executive Director, Corporate and Investment Banking Business at Stanbic IBTC Group. Ms. Sadiku is also known to have played an active role in the development of Nigeria's capital market. And now we move on to the stock market. We see it ended the third trading week of February in the red as the benchmark performance indicators fell by 0.13%. At the same time, the total value of equities listed on the Nigerian Exchange Limited dropped by 0.12% after a struggle between profit-taking and bargain hunting within the week. Sector performance was mixed as the banking, consumer goods and insurance sectors of the NGX gained, while the industrial goods as well as the oil and gas sector index of the NGX declined. On the other hand, equities performance on the activity chart was mixed this week as a total of 1.71 billion shares changed hands for 30.76 billion naira in over, compared to last week, just 24,767 deals. Meanwhile, RT Briscoe led a pack of 43 gainers, up by 53%. CWG tops 38, other losers down by 9.76%. While the trio of Axis Bank, GTCO, and Fidelity Bank were major contributors to the total volume of shares traded in the week. And that's it on Business News. It's back to Melinda with the rest of the news.
Many thanks, Ladi. And for the latest in the world of sports, here's Victor Matthias.
Indeed, Belinda, and welcome to Sports News. And we begin with the English Premier League, where Hurricane heroics at the Etihad has thrown the title race open as Tottenham stunned Premier League champions Manchester City 3-2. The England captain played a role in Dejan Kulusevski's opening goal and put the visitors back in front after Ilkay Gundogan's equalizer. Riyad Mahrez's stoppage time penalty appeared to have salvaged the draw for City, but Kane headed home in the 5th minute of added time to reduce the champions' lead over Liverpool at the Summit to 6 points, having played a game more. The defeat is Man City's first in 16 league matches. Meanwhile, Mohamed Salah scored his 150th goal for Liverpool, and Luis Diaz opened his account as the Reds came from behind to defeat Norwich City 3-1 at Anfield. At Selhurst Park, Hakim Ziyech was on target once again with a last-gasp volley to clinch a 1-0 victory for Chelsea over Crystal Palace. And at the Emirates, Emil Smith-Rowe and Bukayo Saka helped Arsenal to back-to-back wins with a 2-1 win over Brentford. In other results, Emmanuel Dennis's 78th-minute goal was enough for Watford to get all 3 points against Aston Villa. Burnley moved off the foot of the Premier League table with a resounding 3-0 victory over Brighton. Everton lost 2-0 at Southampton, while Newcastle held West Ham United to a 1-all draw. Nigeria Women Football League chairperson Aisha Falade is expecting that the Level Up seminar and training organized by the board to educate club managers will be a turning point to having a proper structure for all the Premiership clubs in the country. The Premiership clubs, currently on a 2-week break, will resume the second stanza of the league on Wednesday, February the 23rd. CAF instructor and Federation of Uganda Football Association's club licensing manager, Ivan Kintu, was in charge of the training.
If we are talking about evolving into a global league brand, we should start also thinking about the processes that we have to put in place in order for us to have the structure that can be called really a professional structure. Players' contract, welfare, the ones that you call financial regulations. You also have legal, you have marketing. How many of our clubs can boast of all this structure? Perhaps because they don't know the importance, perhaps because they don't know that it is actually a way of running our clubs professionally, a way of also generating visibility.
And that's it on Sports News. It's back to Melinda with the rest of the news at 10. I'm Victor Matthias.
Many thanks, Victor. On the international scene, the army in Mali says 8 of its soldiers have been killed and 5 are missing after an attack by rebels in the northeastern Asham region. The fighting comes days after France and its allies said they were withdrawing their forces from the country after nearly a decade. The army says that in response to the latest attack, the Malian Air Force killed 57 militants. The soldiers were reportedly searching for rebel hideouts when they came under heavy firepower from gunmen. According to reports, this week alone, 40 civilians were killed in the same region of Asham, while rival Islamist groups, including the Islamic State, operate. Ukraine's Russian-backed breakaway eastern territories have ordered military mobilizations amid a deadly escalation in fighting. Men of fighting age in the self-declared People's Republic of Donetsk and Luhansk are being put on standby. The move comes amid mass evacuation of women, children and the elderly from the rebel-held territories. Meanwhile, speaking at the Munich Security Conference, U.S. Vice President Kamala Harris warned Russia that it will face unprecedented financial costs if it invades Ukraine. Russia denies that it's planning to invade, but Western nations accuse Moscow of trying to stage a fake crisis in breakaway eastern regions of Ukraine to give it a reason to launch an offensive.
Since the end of the Cold War, has this forum convened under such dire circumstances? Today, as we are all well aware, the foundation of European security is under direct threat in Ukraine. Russia will plead ignorance and innocence. It will create false pretext for invasion, and it will amass troops and firepower in plain sight. We now receive reports of what appears to be provocations. And let me be clear, I can say with absolute certainty, if Russia further invades Ukraine, the United States, together with our allies and partners, will impose significant and unprecedented economic costs.
And the main news again. Members of the All Progressives Congress today trooped out in their numbers to choose their flag bearer in the party's primary election in Osun State ahead of the July 18th governorship poll. Two cherished Benin artifacts, a cockerel and an Oba bronze head, were returned from the UK and received at the Oba's Palace in the Edo State capital. And fighting escalated today between Ukrainian government forces and rebels as the Russian-backed breakaway eastern territories ordered military mobilizations. I'm Melinda Kinlami on behalf of the team. Good night.